Hi you guys, it's me Arden Lee. I am back today with another video, and today's video topic is a request from one of the members of the Repatterning Parlor, and it's about how to have a breakup gracefully. I'm going to get into that subject in just a moment, but I wanted to remind everyone first off that we are currently enrolling for the winter 2020 session of the Repatterning Project, and I'm so excited to have this container again. So if you have been enjoying these videos, vibing with the content, and you want to do the full process from start to finish and have that support from me and a container of like-minded individuals who are also doing all of that work, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and send me a PM, reach out to me, leave a comment on the video, and we'll be in touch, and let's have a chat and figure out if this is the right time for you to jump into this container and to be doing the full process of this work as well. So all right, so let's get back to talking about today's topic, which is how to have a graceful breakup. How do you end a dating or romantic situation that just isn't vibing for you? I think this is an especially cool question because what I hear in it is, what do I need to do to make the other person feel comfortable about my genuine and honest feelings? And this is why I love this question, because that's really the part that I'm really excited about unpacking. There's been some videos that I put out lately where people have asked about, for example, like, how do I deal with some toxic people in my social circles, like short of starting a new friend group, you know? And one of the things I said is, notice yourself where you're spending your time asking, how do I handle these people who aren't even considering my feelings, right? Those people who you're describing as like toxic are definitely not going on and asking questions and getting video answers from facilitators about how to deal with your feelings, right? And probably the person that you're breaking up with isn't doing that either. Because if they were, they would understand that the honesty and authenticity of your feelings is always going to serve the connection no matter what. Even if that means that the connection looks like it's breaking off, right? We are never not served by the honesty and authenticity of our feelings and the feelings of those that we are connecting with, right? Sometimes those feelings mean that we are no longer going to be connecting with those people in the same way. But what did we want? Did we want a false connection? So my first bit of advice here is actually to maybe go back and look at some of the videos that I've put out in the last couple months. One of them being like choosing to be chosen in romantic relationships, or like if someone tells you that you like them too much, then they're doing you a favor, or any of the ones that are about rejection. And I want you to imagine this perspective from the other person's side, right? I'm gonna also give some tips on how to actually have this breakup, but I think this fundamental concept is important to unpack first. When we're worried about how do we end a connection with someone, we're essentially saying, how do I be honest with someone without hurting their feelings? And that's a really, really great question to ask. It's a really considerate question. But we're making the assumption right away that the honesty of our feelings is going to hurt someone. And in most of our day-to-day lives, that might be true on the surface. But I'd love for you to take a deep breath and understand that it's not your responsibility to handle this person's love life for them, right? It's not your responsibility to, how do I want to say this? They're going to have feelings about rejection, right? They're going to have feelings about a connection ending that they didn't want to end. And those feelings are completely natural and completely human. And the thing is that we really can't take responsibility for those feelings, because they're going to go through their process of grief, and they're going to go through their feelings around rejection and hopefully source their support from their friends and do whatever they need to do to recover. And that's really their business. So when we're asking, how do we break up with someone in a way that ameliorates the hurt? What we're sometimes kind of saying is, I feel bad about disappointing someone. I feel bad about the fact that the authenticity of my feelings is going to disappoint someone else, and it's going to cause them temporary pain. And I just want to invite us back into understanding that while it's great to be considerate of other people, this is kind of a classic people pleaser issue, right? Some of us stay in relationships that we're not happy in for a really long time precisely because we don't know how to draw the line between where our responsibility for our feelings is and our feelings of responsibility toward another person, right? So I just want to put that out there first and foremost. If you're already asking how to be gentle with someone during a breakup situation, you're probably already a very considerate person. So I want to say that first and foremost because it really is, sometimes we take on these feelings of guilt because we just don't feel the same way as the other person does, and we know that it's going to be disappointing them. And I'm just here to remind us all that our honest feelings and the way that our body responds to things and the way that our bodies might say, hey, this relationship is not in alignment, or this person is not the person that I maybe had the impression of when we went on our first date, or hey, we ran into some things that, you know, that are deal breakers, or whatever the case may be. There are always going to be times in our lives that our bodies are going to be saying, nope, 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 this is not right, this is not right, I don't belong here, I don't want to be here. And we're going to have a fear of acting on those impulses in our bodies because we're going to be disappointing people. So it's really important to notice that. That's normal. It's a normal feeling. And it's absolutely the right thing to do to say, but I still want to break up with them. How do I do it nicely? So that's why I think in particular this is a good question. And I wanted to bring our attention to that internal process first. Now I'm going to talk about how to actually do the breakup, right? So essentially, whatever your body is feeling that's your honest response. And the degree to which you are bluntly honest about what's going on is really a personal decision you're going to have to make to, based on that relationship and based on how comfortable you feel with that person and how much you think that your feedback is going to serve them. Because some people will use, if you try to explain why you're breaking up with someone, some people will use that as like an arguing point. They'll like try to debate you with it. Well, no, I didn't do that. Or, well, what if we did this instead? Or how about we make this compromise? And it's really important that if you've made up your mind that the reasons don't really matter, the breakup is happening one way or the other. That said, sometimes people appreciate feedback, and sometimes it's helpful for people to know what they're doing in a dating situation that maybe made you a little uncomfortable. So I've told people that I was casually dating before, hey, it really just feels like you're not hearing when I say no, and I don't feel comfortable hanging out with you. I kind of said, like, I don't really want to do this thing, I don't want to do that thing, and you went ahead and you tried to persuade me, or you went and bought tickets anyway, and I was kind of like, and I just don't feel really comfortable. And of course, in the situation I'm thinking of, and this was years and years ago, but the person in definitely assuring me that I was making the right decision, the person came back and tried to use that as a counterpoint and said, well, I didn't think a strong woman like you would feel like she could. And I was like, no, you're just trying to argue with me and gaslight me into thinking that I'm overreacting to the fact that you can't hear when I say no. And I'm just a no. So no, you're still not hearing me say no. I'm answering and it's no. So it really depends. Is this person going to take your feedback with equanimity and with grace, or are they just going to debate with you, right? That's up to you. So if you want to provide reasons and you want to say, hey, this is the feedback I have for you, or this is why it's not working for me, I always, I like to check in with the person. I'm like, would you like to hear the feedback for where I think this went wrong or where this process started for me? And often they say yes, and I'll tell them, but I'll make it clear, like, this is not a point for debate. This is just, I've made the decision. It's just, if you want to know if that helps you, there you go. There's your answer. After that, it really depends on how long the relationship has been going on. Naturally, if this is someone you're just casually seeing, that can be kind of it. If you're at the point where you're living together, or even if you just have a bunch of stuff at each other's houses, typically what I like to recommend is that After the breakup, there's a period, maybe, of like up to a week where you figure out your exchanges and getting each other's stuff back and whatever. If you're living together, that's obviously going to be a much longer period of time, and that can be awkward. But the real key to navigating that period is to make sure the person knows that your decision is final and the breakup is happening, and everything from there is just logistics. And after that, I like to take a period of time off. I like to say, you know what, I think it's going to be healthy for us to have no contact for a little while so we can both remember what the rest of our lives are like outside this relationship. And again, the period of no contact is going to depend on how long you've been together and how much time you need. And that is an individual decision. I like to say, in terms of something like that, I like to say at least a month. If it's someone that you've just been dating kind of casually and you're not really interested in keeping them in your life much longer, then, you don't really have to see or speak to them again. If this is just, a 4 or 5 or 6 date situation, from someone that you met off of an app or something like that, and you don't have a lot of mutual friends, then you really don't have to have that period of time before reintegrating them at all. If there's someone that you share a social circle with and you have a lot of friends with together, then you might want to talk about, hey, what's an appropriate amount of time and what are our boundaries, in terms of when we start speaking to one another again. Again, that's a personal decision, but I like to recommend taking at least a month after you've sorted everything out and gotten each other's stuff back from each other's apartments. I like to take at least a month to have a breather. And again, that time period really is about remembering what the rest of your life is like without that person and regrounding back into the things that you have with you in this present moment and the connections that you are still attached to and present with. This connections, I should say, not attached to, I should say the connections that you're still choosing, right? Our language is important. So that's the sort of nuts and bolts of it, in my opinion. But again, I want to remind everyone that really the heart of this question is, where is the line of responsibility that I have to take for another person's feelings when I know that I'm going to be disappointing them? And it's nice to be kind. It is nice to be graceful about it. It is nice to, have this talk in person. It's nice to, to be considerate. You don't want to just, break up with someone over a text message if you've had more than, say, 3 or 4 dates together. But at the same time, I know, I know that a lot of the people who follow this work do so because in their hearts, it's often difficult for them to understand that they don't have to take responsibility for other people's feelings, and specifically other people's feelings about the way that they are acting when they're acting in alignment with their own honesty, their own integrity, and their own truth. And ultimately, you don't want to keep someone in a relationship where they're not being loved. That person, you're letting them go to find the relationship that is really right for them. That might not be easy for them to hear at the moment. They might not think of it that way, but that's their own journey to discover. And one day they will definitely look back and they'll thank you because they'll be with their partner who is the right person for them. And they'll be happy that they didn't invest more and more time into a connection that it was already pretty certain was not going to work out. So thank you guys for paying attention, and hopefully this was helpful. And again, reach out to me if you're interested in enrolling for the Winter 2020 Repatterning Project so that you can do this work in the process that it was developed in from start to finish and really get a thorough handle on fixing those core bugs and those core programs that tell you that you are responsible for other people's feelings. We'll definitely address that. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time.